There she is.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. Hello from across the pond.
We meet again.
We do. Fancy meeting you here.
I know, right? It's almost as if we planned it. It's weird.
Imagine that. So, here we are for another fun-filled discussion, right? Of Station 19.
Uh, is it fun-filled this time?
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what you think because I last week's recording, because the way you saw it and when I saw it, I think I just kind of let you know a little bit I didn't like it, just hinted that maybe that I didn't care for
I
the
got that
episode.
feeling. I did, it was just a slight air that you gave off that said that you weren't over keen. Um, so I went into it with low expectations, as you suggested. I'm not convinced that I hated it quite as much as you, but usually when I don't think anyone disliked it as much as you. But usually when I watch, I then find bits and pieces that kind of stick out to me that I quite like, and then when I go back in for my rewatch to do my notes,
Yes.
my subconscious has already kind of decided about the bits that it wants to pull out, and so I'm very aware of them when they come up, and I've got things to say and things to put in my notes.
Sure.
This time I didn't even want to bother watching it the second time round.
No, it
So it's
wasn't.
like, oh
No, it
god,
wasn't necessary.
it wasn't the best, was it?
What's the name of this one? What was it called?
It was called "Never Gonna Give You Up,"
Okay.
which
All
is a banger of a song, and I don't really think this episode did Chesney Hawkes justice, if I'm honest.
right. Yeah, I could definitely give this episode up. So the title doesn't really match it for me.
And I think we just came up with the title of this podcast episode, Tiffany, with that.
Yeah, I can give you up.
Yeah, definitely will give this one up.
Yeah.
So when you and I spoke last week, I said to you that I thought it was a first-time writer for Station 19, and I actually got that wrong. It was a first-time director that directed this one. So Kelly Park, she's not a first-time director. It was just her first time on Station 19. When I looked her up, she's done like The Upshaws and Grace and Frankie.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, with like Lily Tomlin and stuff.
Hmm.
So it looks like she's done like quite a lot of comedic stuff. And so Station 19, when you look at her resume, doesn't seem like an ideal fit, but I actually thought it was great. I thought that the directing was really good, especially the cave scene when we saw the behind the scenes that Danielle gave us of what the cave actually looks
Yep.
like.
Sure.
Great. And I
Yeah.
think if we watch the cave scene with the mute button pressed, bang on. So I think the first time director did a class job. The writer for this one was Megan Plunkett, and she's done tons for Station 19. So this one was a bit anomalous for me, for her.
Maybe she just wasn't having a good day.
Clearly, she she wrote 2 for season 3. She was the story editor for the whole of season 4. Plus, she wrote 2 bangers in season 4. She wrote episode 6, Train in Vain, which is the one where Andrew/Andrea is stabbed.
Okay.
She got then promoted, and she was the executive story editor for season 5. Again, wrote another banger, wrote Little Girl Blue, which was the Thanksgiving episode. And she wrote When the Party's Over, which is the one where Andy
Hmm.
turns up at the station after her assault. So again, this is
Oh, yep.
so
Okay.
again that I don't.
Yeah, those are some pretty powerful episodes for sure.
Yeah. Oh, and here's an odd writing credit for her. Maybe it's an odd writing credit. I don't know. She's credited as one of the 2 screenwriters for Stefania Spampinato's short Zeta Sempre.
Oh, that's an interesting fact.
Yeah. So there you go. So I mean,
Okay.
haven't seen that. Also in Italian, won't understand that. With my 53 words that I know in Italian, but I'm assuming that it's going to be better than this episode.
Probably.
For me, it was just a bit boring, a bit predictable. There were some very, very obvious choices with the writing. It felt very
Yeah.
like clunky and in your face.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just wasn't, it lacked a lot of, well, and I don't know, maybe we've been spoiled this season. it just lacked a lot of what we've gotten, this season so far. And so it was just, I don't know, it was just a little bit of a letdown. That's all.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way. It's been such a big season, and I think that the writing has been superb. That's been the standout thing is the writing, and where we've seen a lot of the actors really raising their game. They were already up there, so the fact they've managed
Yeah,
to elevate what they're doing,
sure.
is a credit to the writing. So yeah, this one was just a bit. I was a bit with you. I was a bit deflated, really.
That was a good sound effect.
I'm full of them, unfortunately.
Too funny.
But also, do you remember the other day when we were talking? I said I didn't think that the writers knew who Jack was.
Uh-huh.
I meant figuratively, as in, like, they were confused about his personality. This episode, I don't think anyone actually knew who Jack was. Like, Jack? There's someone in this called Jack. Oh, quick, let's write him some lines in. Would you like to guess how many lines Grey Damon had to learn for this episode?
Uh, 5.
I thought 5, and when I actually counted, it was 7.
Wow.
He had 7 lines, a total of 57 words. Grey Damon had a great week that week.
I say they're overworking him.
Yeah, dialogue learned in half an hour, spend the rest of the week surfing, playing with your cats, whatever he does. I don't know what he does in his life.
Right.
But
Right.
but he had a chill week. So I mean, I know that white cishet men have had it all their way for a very long time, but as he's the only white cishet man on the show, I'll allow him to have a little bit more than 7 lines before I get umpy. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes. That's too funny. Now that you're saying that though, yeah, I don't really remember seeing him that much that episode.
exactly. I actually wrote his lines down, and it would take me 30 seconds to read them. He said, "They could fire all of us. Coordinates instead of an address. That's weird, right? Do you think we maybe should ask where exactly? I'm trying to keep my job. Montgomery? Ouch, it looks like the cameraman fell too. That's a long drop. I don't know, maybe last time there was a mutiny. Hello? Seattle Fire Department? Hello? Ta-da! I can stand in for Grey Damon."
Oh my gosh, you are so funny. She just read us his script.
That was literally all of his lines. All of them.
That is so funny. Okay, she just wasn't feeling Jack, I guess.
I mean, I rarely feel Jack, but 7 lines, come on.
No, that's hilarious. Okay.
So where do you want to start? Ben?
Ben and the spider.
Ben and the spider bite.
Yes.
There's not much to it. Shall I run us through it?
Yeah, it'll be just like Jack's lines.
Exactly. So Ben is on desk duty. A guy called Reggie. I appreciated that. That was Norm Scully from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah, I like him. He's a cool actor.
Love him. Yeah. So he comes into the station with muscle cramps and shortness of breath after cleaning out his garage. And he's the one that inadvertently tells Ben that his wife is in a bit of a situation, because he says that he tried to go to Grace Sloan, but he couldn't get there due to a car running into a crowd.
Yeah.
So Ben then tries to diagnose Reggie through the panic, and eventually notices that there's a spider bite on Reggie's arms. So he deduces that he's been bitten by a black widow, because he's obviously a specialist on arachnids, as well as being an anaesthetist, a general surgeon, and a firefighter. Luckily, there's some anti-venom at the station. Who doesn't have anti-venom for black widow spiders just lying around?
Right, just happens to be.
I keep mine under the sink. Reggie then goes on to tell Ben how he's been saving money in a jar for 20 years to take his wife on a gondola ride in Venice, and he's not sure if he's going to survive, and Ben doesn't know if he's going to survive either. Says he's trying his best, but you can't control the chaos in the world. But Ben can control the chaos that's going on in the station. He administers the anti-venom. Reggie's fine, wants to go home to his missus. Ben says that when he does, he should tell her that he loves her and take her on that vacation to Italy, because tomorrow is not promised. Later in the day, he still can't get hold of Miranda and he can't take it anymore. And so when the chief calls 19 for a lineup, instead of going to line up, he sprints the 3 blocks, which I think is about 200 meters, to Greystone.
Yep.
And that's that.
Yep. I mean, it was a good little scene to have. I mean, I appreciated
Yeah.
it. It showed, Ben's concern for Miranda. I think it was a nice way to bring that into the storyline. And I mean, it was a little bit more than a filler. To me, it did a little bit more than a filler. And I just appreciated it overall as a scene. So
Yeah. Yeah, it was a nice vehicle for Ben.
yeah,
And yeah, it was nice to let him sort of do a bit of dramatic acting, with his panic over the administering the anti-venom in time, and the sort
yeah,
of the dual panic of wondering what's going on with Miranda.
yeah,
And I suppose we got a little view into how he, but we know how he feels about Miranda. He's not backwards and coming forwards, is he, when it comes to his love for his wife? But I suppose he gave Reggie a bit of good life advice. Don't stuff money in a jar, because things like this
yeah.
can happen at any time, and take life in both hands, because a spider might bite one of them at some point, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I don't have too much on that one. It was nice for what it was, but I don't think it was a standout scene in too many ways. I didn't have anything I particularly wanted to discuss in the scene. Did you?
Nope. Nope. Nothing different than what I said already. Like I said, I think it was a pretty good filler, and I liked the segue it gave for Ben for Miranda. So
Yeah. Right. That was quick, wasn't
yeah, I'm telling you, it's
it?
just I knew this recording was going to be pretty quick just because of the episode.
It's going to be done in 20 minutes. So the other thing that happened on the side was Vic and Theo continuing their fire inspections.
Yep.
The beginning of the Vic and Theo block, if you like, is before work, and Theo's out on a run, and Vic calls him,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yep.
he completely ignores her call,
Yeah.
which is,
What's up
you
with
know,
that?
yeah. And then once they get to work, he is as surly as usual. In the end, he tells Vic that the arson investigation was dismissed. Nobody bothered to really look at it. They just made a decision off all the case reports. And then on the way to do more inspections, Vic is sort of saying, it's not right. They shouldn't have done that, and she's wanting to sort of hash it out. And
Yep.
he just said, oh, no, drop it. There's nothing to be done. Just drop it. I don't want to talk about it. And Vic says, well, look, if they're not going to do it, we'll do it. And literally turns the truck down the side road and says, come on, takes a detour. And she heads off to Tomas's shop with a stroppy teenager in the
Hmm.
passenger seat. And again, he just irritated me, though, all the way through this episode, because when they get to Tomas's shop, again, he's just so stroppy and he keeps saying it's a waste of time. Oh, no.
Yep.
And
Yep.
she calls him out and says, what is wrong with you? And she
Hmm.
tries to say to him, I understand, my parents'
Hmm.
shop burnt down, so I get it. And he's
Yep.
like, no, you don't get it, because they could rebuild. Tomas could never rebuild.
Hmm.
And then she actually proves to him that she does understand and says, well, no, look, this is somewhere that used to come with your dad. So the sort of last memories that you would have had with your dad be here, and you feel like they're vanishing.
Yeah.
So that should maybe kind of say to him that she's invested in this. She does understand him. She does know where he's coming from.
Sure.
Then they do find evidence of foul play, and Theo still, again, is dismissive and says, well, I know we found it, but it's not going to do any good. Nobody will listen. And Vic takes the reins again and says, well, we'll just make them listen then, and phones SFD Arson, who sent an investigation team out, and they bring with them the goodest of good boy dogs.
The goodness.
The dogs were a standout for me. SFD agree. It's clear signs of arson, and they're going to open their own investigation. And then they get back to the station, and Vic very sweetly has rescued what I assume to be the first dollar that Tomas made in his barbershop.
Yeah. I assumed the same. Yep.
Yeah. And she hands it over to Theo, and very gently and sweetly and softly says, I thought you should have this. Does he say thank you? He does not. He just says, no, Tomas should have it. And she says, you give it to him. He's lucky to have you. And I took that to mean that at least someone's got Theo, because Vic doesn't have him right now. He's elsewhere. And that's that. Poor Vic.
Yeah, I mean, not much to say there other than Theo is being a schmuck right now and not really being nice to Vic. And Vic is going above and beyond, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
to be a super supportive girlfriend. And
Yeah.
he's just being a schmuck.
Yeah, he's had a character transplant.
Yes, seriously. I agree 100%. He's not being the Theo from season 5.
No, and when I think about the abortion episode and, how he wasn't in a great place with her at that time, but he was so sweet and so supportive, and he felt that he'd been underserved at
Mm-hmm.
that point, because she hadn't discussed it with him. She hadn't asked about his
Mm-hmm.
feelings, but he was still very much there, and he was being goofy, singing outside the door for
Yeah,
her, and he'd like read the books and he'd done all the stuff. And this is an entirely different person.
no, it really is. This season has definitely been about like how mental health crises or events can totally shapeshift and transform your personality for sure.
Yeah. Vic's being, she's just having the patience of a saint at the minute, I
Mm-hmm.
think, because I'd have,
She is.
I'd have thrown that dollar at his head at this point. He's just being very unprofessional. He's being very immature, and he should have the same passion as Vic
Right.
in investigating these fires. He should be trying to exhaust every single avenue before giving in, because he's letting his childhood friends'
Mm-hmm.
livelihoods literally burn to the ground if he
Right.
doesn't do something about this. So just to kind of like sit in the truck, resting on your arm, going,
Mm-hmm.
leave it. It's not going to do
Mm-hmm.
any good. Things are literally catching fire, Theo.
Yeah.
Literally catching fire. So you might want to have a little bit of urgency about that, son.
Right.
Have,
Yeah.
have we missed it? No,
No, no, there was nothing to miss on that one.
no. Oh God.
Uh-oh.
Travis and the rescue, and I say Travis and the rescue because this was literally just a vehicle for Travis. No one else needed to be there,
Yeah.
really. Let's face it. But the first time we see Travis, I think, was actually the best scene of the whole show. So he's having a nightmare that he won the mayoral race and all his teeth fell out. Vic, hearing him scream, runs into his bedroom with a baseball bat. Makes some joke about his teeth falling out being to do with his unfulfilled sexual desires.
Yeah. Freud.
Yeah, it's actually a sign of lack of security, not unfulfilled sexual desires. But I mean, maybe Vic's projecting. Things aren't going smoothly for her, are they? So
You're on a roll today.
thank you. But he sends her packing
Mm-hmm.
with her bat, checks his teeth,
Yep.
and that was, as I say, for me, the most entertaining part of the show over.
Yeah, no, that I loved it. I loved it at the end when she leaves the room. She's like, "I had good time though." Like
I
her
was ready
response
with her
time.
bat.
Yeah,
He was like, take the bat, and she's like, I was ready though.
yeah,
Like with
I
her.
loved that. That was so cute.
Doesn't she steal some food on the way out
Yeah,
or
she
something as
steals
well? Yeah,
whatever's on
I'm
his
gonna
plate.
take this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally loved that little interaction.
yeah, brilliant. And those two are always gold as well.
They are.
They have really good rhythm together, like their comedic rhythm
Yeah.
that they've kind of found. It's really good. So then they go to a call out, and the call out is to coordinates, not an address. We know that because that's one of Grey Damon's 7 lines.
Yeah.
And then they're sent out to rescue a social media star whose fall in a cave was live streamed from her channel.
Okay.
Chief Ross and Sullivan hatch a plan to find her based on a previous mission they completed together in the Marines.
Mm-hmm.
Once they've located the influencer, Myra and Travis start to rappel down, and Myra overhears on the chief's radio that several doctors have been hit by a car outside the reproductive clinic, and Maya goes into a full panic because Karina's at work.
Yeah. Rightfully so.
Rightfully so. Travis and the chief manage to calm her down. To her credit, she composes herself. They rappel down to the victims, and then that's when stuff gets annoying. The cameraman is down there as well. His only concern is for Stella Trix, who's this influencer. He wants her to be rescued first, but when she comes round, she's just excited to find out that her phone's still recording, and she won't be rescued first because she's refusing to leave without it.
Right.
And
Right.
she then starts loudly speaking to her followers in case they can still hear her,
So obnoxious.
whilst Maya and Travis are trying to rescue the cameraman, and she's like, "Come in and subscribe," bleeding from her head. Then, when the cameraman's up top, he tells Sullivan and Ross that he's actually in a secret relationship with this woman.
Yep.
Poor guy. But he can't. Look, you can't help some people. But he can't post pictures of them together. He can't hold hands with her in public. And he asks Sullivan if he could live like that. And Sullivan says he doesn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Stella's still refusing to leave without a phone, so Travis reluctantly gives it to her and ends up as part of her live feed. Isn't that convenient for
Yep.
him?
Yep.
Halfway up on the winch, she starts messing with her backboard and her harness and what have you, so she can show her followers the best view of the rescue. Drops her phone again, and she desperately says, but it's all I have. When Travis says, leave without the phone, it's all I have, which sounded great to the boyfriend up top.
Right.
And he starts screaming that he's a boyfriend and they've got a life together. And again, all she's worried about is their phone is still recording this, and her followers, who, she assumes follow her because she's this single woman out on adventures conquering the world, they're not supposed to know that she's in this relationship. So now she's concerned about that. Her only concern.
Yeah, not about him at all.
No. So Travis, again, why? Rescues the phone.
Yep.
But then starts telling her that she's being selfish and she's putting people's lives in danger, and she needs to be authentic and be the kind, caring person she presents online. I can't imagine her presenting as kind and caring online from what we've seen in that bloody cave, but there we go. But he tells her to have some respect for the lives of the people that are trying to save hers, and she allows herself to be rescued eventually. Then, having asked about the phone about a dozen times and about her boyfriend a total of 0 times, only ceasing to be mad at him for saying they're together once she sees all the positive comments about it.
All the likes, yep.
Oh, for God's sake. He sees the light and he dumps her because he sees that she's only with him to boost her followers. And he says that in life or death situations, he chooses her, but she also chooses her, and she never chooses him.
Yeah.
And then on the way back in the engine, Sullivan says to the chief that they worked well together, just like the old days. And that is met with a pained expression from her and deathly silence, which didn't spell great things.
No.
And then Maya's trying to desperately call Karina from the back of the engine. Karina's not picking up. So they actually stop the engine on the chief's orders so that Maya can run the 10 blocks to the hospital, which will be quicker than taking the detour around the hospital to get there.
Yep.
When they arrive back at 19, Eli's waiting for them. Travis's videos racked up about 400,000 views in the 3 hours it's been up. There's already an article up about his off-the-cuff speech during the rescue about authenticity and human connection. Eli wants to capitalize on it with ads and #BeAuthentic. But Travis is spinning out and he says he's not eating, he's not sleeping, and he only got into the race so that Dixon wouldn't win, not so that he would win. But Eli is keen for Travis to carry on because he's passionate and altruistic, and it's a rarity that passionate, altruistic people find themselves in leadership positions.
Yeah.
And that was that. So I'm imagining that this is 80% of what irritated you about the episode.
The Stellatrix phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I wanted to grab that phone and throw it out the window. I was like, I remember looking at my mom and being like, I'm not that bad, am I? Because it was ridiculous. But no, I really appreciated the dialogue it allowed for Travis, though. I liked that dialogue a lot when he gave that speech. I think it was very well written. So I liked that quite a bit. But and of course, the seeds that may be planted in Ross and Sullivan, because you could tell that Ross was taking it in too. She made a couple facial expressions and little glances at Sullivan here and there. So it did have some positive outcomes from that, but overall, I didn't watch it again either. I didn't watch it a second time either because I couldn't do the phone scene.
Well,
So,
I did, but I didn't enjoy myself, to be honest.
yeah,
Um,
for sure.
I just found it to be quite tropey as well. So immediately I heard that it was a social media influencer
Hmm.
that they were rescuing. I just knew that it was going to be a vehicle for Travis. It just
Right,
seemed too obvious. It's just I just said to Julia straight away, "Oh, brilliant!" So basically, her live feed is still going, which means that Travis is now going to be doing a live rescue, and that's
right.
going to be like that's literally why that we've got this storyline is to
Hmm.
further boost. It was just very tropey. I think that there could have been a more subtle way to do it than I mean, when they did it in episode 1 with the hurricane, and he
Hmm.
rescued the lass from the mini in the back garden, there was someone there videoing it on their phone, which is what people do in these situations. And that seemed like something that would naturally happen in any given situation, that somebody would video a rescue that they were witnessing. But it seemed very convenient that they went to rescue a girl who was still on a live feed using
Right.
even with a signal booster, man, to like still have that much signal when you're down a cave. I can't get signal at the bottom of my garden. I'm always walking around my house going, "Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?" But she can live feed from a flipping cave. And it
Right.
just so happens that Travis, who's running for mayor, happens to be the person that rappels down into the cave. Do you know what I mean? It was just very clunky and obvious for
Yeah.
me. And I think they got away with it with the person videoing him at the garden party because that's what people do these days.
Hmm.
But to then repeat that with Travis being videoed doing a rescue, but then to do it in such an obvious way, it just felt lazy to me. And I hate saying that because I don't like slamming people's art, but it felt lazy.
No, I agree 100%. It lacked, any kind of suspense or thrill or anything like that. It was just,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
100%.
then the fact that he gave her back the phone on 3 occasions. Travis, just throw it at a rock and be done with it.
Yeah. Yeah, like accidentally drop it, right?
Yeah. Whoops.
Yeah.
Like it yeah. And she wasn't likable.
No.
All power to the actress because she made that character seem obnoxious.
Yes.
So well done her, because I'm sure she's not an obnoxious individual. But the only reason I wanted her rescued was so that it wouldn't reflect poorly on Travis. It wouldn't reflect poorly on 19. And Maya could get out of the cave and get to Grace
And
Loeb.
gets, yeah.
Other than that, leave her down there, man.
Sorry, you are just,
Don't you think?
yeah, tell us how you really feel about it.
It's my favourite so far. And picking up on what you were saying about the chief and Sullivan,
Yes.
she was calling Sullivan Sully throughout the duration of that
Yes,
call out, Sully the whole time.
she was. Yep.
So, do you think that they did that deliberately to show that the mask is slipping, that she's failing to be able to recognize the line for herself between work and home, that the lines are getting blurred for her?
It could be, yeah, and honestly, I mean, this is the first we've seen her work with the team like that, right? Not just showing up on the scene, but
Mm,
actually being like it quote unquote in the field. So I wonder if it brought that comfort level back.
yep.
You get what I'm saying?
A 100% that they just slipped into the way that things used
Yep,
to be. And that's super
sure.
risky because we know that they were
It
obviously
is.
sleeping together when they were in the Marines. So,
Yeah. I honestly wondered if they were gonna like kiss in the cave or something. I really did. Because it was that comfort level was just right back.
yeah,
So
yeah. Do you think she's regretting like getting involved with? I nearly said getting back in bed, but I mean, has literally got back in bed with him. But do you think she's regretting getting involved with Sullivan again now?
sometimes I perceive that sometimes.
Yeah,
But I think it's too late for her to do anything about it. She allowed her feelings back in.
they love each other.
Yeah, sometimes I think she wishes she could just cut it off, but she just can't. Do you get that vibe too?
Yeah, completely. I think she's gotten herself into a
Yeah.
really bad situation. But what can you do? Because when you love somebody, you
Hmm.
love them, and that's it.
Yep. Yeah.
I think she'd have been doing herself wrong either way.
Hmm. I agree. So it'll be interesting to see how that ends when it does, if it does.
Yeah. But I was disappointed with the dialogue that they gave Mel Dandridge this time. The little kind of pep talk to Danielle was all they really gave her, and there wasn't a great deal for her to work with there. Travis got the barn burner of a speech,
Yeah,
and he did a great job with that.
yeah, he did. No, I agree. They definitely underutilized her this episode, which doesn't make any sense because we got to see her as the acting captain, and so the fact that she was underutilized, it was a missed opportunity for sure.
Yes, it was a missed opportunity. It really was. And again, Danielle didn't get much, but she put in her usual shift with the panic attack.
Yep,
But that was really it for that, wasn't it?
yep. Unfortunately, yes. that was
Yeah.
that was pretty much what we got. Um, so yeah,
Then there was the mutiny.
the mutiny.
The mutiny. So Eli shows up at Andy's apartment. They still haven't got their date. You bless you must be dying at this point. For about 3 or 4 weeks, you've been like, I'm really excited to see Andy and Eli on a date.
I am.
I mean, we got close.
We did, and I think it was this. Even though we didn't get the date, I think it was a sweet scene. I like the way it was written. Um, I think it was cute. He was able to support her in a way she really needed it, and I appreciated it, even though it wasn't a date.
I have to say, Eli is fast becoming my man.
she's she's going for her countryman.
I kind of love him. Bless him. He showed up for the date. He realizes Andy is not in the right place for a date.
Yep,
So, bless him. He offers to make her an omelette and help her with her mutiny problem.
yep.
Good man.
No, it was, and I appreciated that as well. I really did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for sure.
So, we leave them trying to reframe the mutiny into a revolution.
Hmm. Semantics.
Yes, semantics. And then the next morning, we see the fruits of their labor.
Hmm.
So it starts off with the A team talking about being fired. Again, we know this because this is one of Grey Damon's 7 lines. And then Theo is the usual ray of sunshine that he is these days. And he says, the city isn't protecting its citizens, the city's not protecting them. Let them fire him, he's done.
Yep.
And then the chief gives them their dressing down and telling them that mutiny is a sackable offence. And then Andy interrupts and literally gives her chapter and verse from the manual about how what she did was not a mutiny. In fact, it was textbook.
Yeah.
Then they're saved by the bell. I'm not entirely sure who's saved by the bell, whether it's Andy or the chief at this point, but that's when they get the call out and then we go down the cave.
Yep.
And then once we're back from said cave, the chief corners Herrera in the equipment room and tells her that what she did that morning was bold, that she chose to do what was right over towing the line. She spoke truth to power. She's not a follower, she's a leader. All this to say that if 19 remains intact, she wants Andy to be the interim captain until Beckett's back. But Andy says that she only wants the job if it's hers to keep, so she declines and recommends Sullivan. And then, of the reasons that she gives, she includes that he works well with the chief. Then the chief calls a line up, and in a complete 180 reversal of what she said that morning, she says that she wishes she'd had the stomach to do what they do and to push back instead of blindly following authority, and that they'll need a trusted leader until Beckett's back. And then to me, it looked like Andy and Sullivan exchanged a little look and a little smile,
Yeah,
like
it did.
her smiling to him, like, "You got this,
Yeah.
son," and he's like, "Cheers, mate."
Yeah.
And then the chief hands it over to Ruiz and says that the reopening of the arson investigation was a testament to his dedication, his professionalism, and his tenacity, basically. And then he readily accepts the captain's position.
Yeah, because that wasn't all Vic at all.
That's exactly what's in my notes.
And you could kind of see Vic kind of gave him a quick side eye if you caught that for sure.
Yeah, that's in my notes as well. I started by bigging up my man and saying that Eli showed emotional intelligence and kindness in the very beginning. He wants to cook for her and he wants to help.
Yes, very sweet.
And for once, his politicking and PR comes in useful.
Yes.
Let's just big up Eli there for a minute before we move on. And then one of the bits, when I said to you, there were a lot of obvious choices, I thought, in the writing and
Uh-huh.
stuff. One of the bits that was too obvious for me is when the cameraman said to Stella, "You never choose me."
Yeah.
And Sullivan and the chief sort of look at each other.
Hmm.
And then when they went to the lineup and she handed it off to Ruiz, she literally didn't choose
Right.
Sullivan.
Right.
And I just think, again, like, I think that possibly would have been a more nuanced way to do that than like have a guy say, "You never choose me,"
Right.
and then for someone to literally not choose somebody. It was too literal for me. It was just far too literal. And where we've had some far more subtle, nuanced writing from the likes of Leah Gonzalez
Hmm.
and Rochelle Zimmerman, this just felt very heavy handed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
No, no, I agree. It was, I hate to use the word, but it was sloppy in some ways.
Yeah.
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 So just being real.
Yeah. And then Theo went literally from "I'm done" to "Yes, please, I'll be the captain."
Yeah, too, they don't care about us. I'm basically done with this
Yeah.
job to, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
Let them fire me to,
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah, no, please, I'll be in charge." Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then when it's handed off, Andy, I thought Andy looked sad. It looked like sadness to me.
I no, I agree. I thought she looked shocked and upset for sure.
Yeah, I think she felt sad for Sullivan.
She almost looked like if I would have known you were going to give it to Theo, I would have taken it. Is how I thought
Yeah,
she looked for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Sullivan was chewing wasps. The guy's got zero poker face.
Zero.
And I think that he probably knew in that minute that the only reason that he didn't get it is because of his intimate relationship with the chief.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, that's literally the only reason that he didn't get it. Is she can't risk that. She can't. If it comes out that they're together and she's promoted him twice, she's stuffed.
Yeah.
So she's painted herself into a corner. She couldn't give it to him. So I wonder if he's regretting the decision as well, because we know how motivated and career hungry he is. So he's probably wondering if he's made the right move here too. Yeah, Vic, I've said, just looked out and out shocked because
Yep.
everything that the chief ascribed to Theo when handing in the job was actually her. And moreover, he didn't say a bloody
He
word.
didn't. He just took it all and yep,
Yeah.
for sure.
He literally spent the whole episode going, "Drop it, I don't want to do it. No, it's a
Yep.
waste of time. I don't want to do it. Take me home." And then took all of the credit for everything
Yep.
that happened. I mean, that dude's in no position to lead. He's got a poor attitude. He's shown no leadership skills thus far.
Yep.
I mean, when he was Andy's lieutenant at 23, he stepped up once or twice just to say, "Guys, cool down. She's
Yeah.
your captain. You need to show a bit of respect." But other than that, he's shown no leadership skills whatsoever, and he's shown no desire to be promoted. So again, this seems a little bit weird for me.
No, I agree 100%. And I feel like he even, I don't remember what episode it was, but he kind of implied that he didn't want it again. You know, he didn't want that responsibility again. I remember feeling that way.
Yep.
And so
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he
so
did.
we'll have to see.
Yeah, no, Travis was really quick to congratulate him as well, since he's the guy that got his husband killed.
The first one. Yeah, I saw that too. I thought, okay, that's weird. Yep.
Ran over there to
Yep.
shake his hand and pat him on the back.
Yep. That caught me off guard too, for sure.
Yeah. Do you think that Theo's position is going to be semi-permanent now, or do you think that they'll rotate and switch out the captains?
I think they're gonna round robin it. I do.
Yeah.
Yes. I think she's gonna, because I mean, if she round robins it, she can justify giving Sullivan a chance
Oh,
because she can say that, you know what I mean, that each person's getting it, each lieutenant is getting it.
oh, that's interesting.
And so it would open up a door for that.
I hadn't thought of that angle.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Which is, that's why we're good together, because we bring in different perspectives.
There you go.
So
There you go. Do you think that this is going to spell trouble for Vic and Theo, though? Do you think this is.
yes, I do. I do. An already strained relationship of definitely, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
he's obviously going to be. I mean, technically, he outranks her at the minute because he's a lieutenant, but
yeah,
I mean, he's literally going to be her boss now.
right.
So, and with the attitude that he's been taking with her lately,
Yeah, I'm a little bit nervous for their relationship. I mean, they've gone through a lot and they've shown they can handle a lot, but I don't know. We'll have to see.
Well, at the minute, the way that he's being at the moment, I'm quite happy for Vic to be given the boot
hmm I agree. Say all done.
and just say, yeah, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Come back to me when you're going to step up and be the guy that I know, because I don't know this person.
hmm
So
Interesting. It'll be interesting to watch for sure.
meanwhile, on Grace,
Yes, let's get to it.
because I used to watch Grays religiously. Um, I'm sort of less of a devotee now. I'll still watch it, but not with the fervor that I once did. But you've
Sure.
never watched it, have you?
No, no, never got into it.
But you told me that you preferred this episode of Grace to Station.
I did. I actually watched. I rewatched this episode of Grey's twice.
Wait,
Did not rewatch Station this week.
no.
Um, just for that, watching Maya run around the hospital looking for Karina.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
But I have to say that the opening oneer from Kevin McKidd was very impressive.
It was. That was very well done. Yeah.
Apparently, that's the first time it's been done in Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, that it's amazing. It was. I can't imagine.
And they got it done in 2 takes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. It reminded me of, did you ever watch The West Wing?
Yes, yes.
It reminded me of The West Wing. They used to do those long shots, like sort of dragging all the way
Yeah.
through the office, and people would sort of dart in and out, and they would keep the camera rolling, going
Uh-huh.
backwards. I just thought it was brilliantly done. It was expertly handled by Kevin McKidd, and Stefania smashed it.
She did. You gotta give.
There was a lot of technical
Yeah.
language. She had to speak fast, be on the move.
Yeah, she did it, and I loved.
She had to hit all her marks.
Yeah,
We know that's a challenge.
yeah. Seriously. I loved seeing her in her element though, as Dr. DeLuca for sure.
Yeah, it's awesome when they let her doctor, when
Mhm.
they actually let her do her job.
Yeah.
So yeah, I loved that. The only thing that annoyed me was that they skipped over the protesters barreling towards the
Oh
injured
yeah.
doctors. So if you remember, like the sort of cliffhanger at the end of the last
Yep.
episode was the 2 doctors had been hit by the car, and then Miranda, Karina, and co had sort of leapt onto the injured
Mhm. Mhm.
doctors as the protesters were coming round the corner with their picket
Yeah.
signs. And so that sort of spelled danger for our
Mhm.
doctors. But then it opened with sort of flashbacks of that, but then with the injured people in aid cars with Karina and Miranda and co. So they sort of skipped over how they'd managed to push the protesters back, get a couple of ambulances there, get everyone loaded. Like they skipped over all of that.
They.
So it was like, look at this, guys. We're going to have to wait until next week to see if, the angry mob beats Miranda and Karina half to death with their little signs. And then they skipped over it, just pretended it, whoopsie, it never, that never happened. So that irked me.
More of Shondaland timeline, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
But Karina performed an emergency C-section straight after that, so I'll forgive them
Yeah.
because that was cool. Then Myra and Ben turn up at Grace Sloan simultaneously. Well, we see them at the same time.
Yeah.
I reckon that Maya made it there first, even though she
Yeah.
had 7 blocks further to run. I had to look it up because I don't know what a block is in distance.
That's all right. That's all right.
But it turns out that a Seattle block is 0.05 miles. So in real terms, that meant that Ben had to run 200 meters-ish.
Okay.
And Maya ran 800 meters-ish. So twice round a running track for Maya.
Okay. And we still think she got there before Ben.
I think she got there before him.
Yeah.
I'm going out on a limb.
Okay.
But they're trying to gain access to the hospital to find their wives. Teddy tells security to let them in, and they find Miranda in the OR, and then they run straight to daycare and watch Prue put ears on Mr. Potato Head.
Yeah.
And then Maya sprints off to find Karina and OB, and Ben doesn't even notice that she's gone. He's still like chatting away.
He's just talking. Yeah.
And then Maya finds Karina mid-delivery, and there's a gorgeous 23 seconds long. But it was perfect. 23 seconds of perfection.
It was.
Perfect acting, very
was
soft, perfect delivery from both of them. Maya says, "You're okay." And Karina says that she has to go, but she thanks Maya for coming. And then Maya waits outside the room. So she just waits there,
So sweet. Yeah.
trying to catch a glimpse when people open the door.
Yeah, to try to see her.
Yeah.
Yep.
So she's still there when Ben and Prue turn up, and she says that Karina's a miracle worker. She doesn't stop to think about it often enough, but she's a miracle
Yeah.
worker. And then she and Ben have the realization of the fear that their wives feel on a daily basis, just on the daily, really.
Yep.
The thing that I noticed, and it's you that's kind of made me more aware of it, I think, is you mention all the time about Danielle's hands, like what Danielle does with her hands.
The subtleties, yes.
And the whole time that she was talking to Ben about Corinne, like saying she saved this doctor and she delivered this baby, and now she's delivering another baby, and she's a bringer of life, and she's playing with her wedding ring that whole time.
Yep. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So
For
it's
sure.
just brilliant.
Very good subtleties on Danielle's part.
Really good. What were your thoughts on that?
I loved it. I loved even when Maya finally gets there and she kind of takes that she kind of speaks over the slight sigh in her voice, almost like, and her voice cracks. You know, I just appreciated every little single detail that Danielle put into Maya for that scene. And I liked seeing Karina kind of go from the startled, frantic doctor to just a little bit of softening she
Yeah.
did towards Maya before she went back into the room. I think that scene was beautifully done from both actresses for sure. I loved it.
What those two can pack in 23 seconds will never cease to amaze
Yeah.
me.
No, and even without speaking, sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Just looks and yeah.
Yeah.
So no, I like I said earlier, I thought it was.
That's the beauty of
Hmm.
them, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the chemistry allows for that, right? The chemistry they have
Yeah.
allows for them to do that.
And they're both very expressive, but in very subtle ways. Like they
Hmm.
give like their little micro expressions, they just give so much away.
Yeah.
And also like the pattern of breath,
Hmm.
where they choose to breathe and where they take a deeper breath.
Yeah.
And it's just a masterclass, I think, every week, to be
Yes.
perfectly honest.
100%. 100%.
So Ben, do you think Ben is kind of questioning his choices at the minute and like his choice to become a firefighter? He was being very not maybe introspective, I don't know. But when he was talking to Reggie,
Hmm.
saying, tomorrow's not promised and
Yeah.
you tell your wife you love her and all the stuff, he seems to be having a lot of thoughts then. And then when he and Maya are talking
Hmm.
later on, he says to Maya, and he sort of says it in a questioning way to Maya, like he's looking for validation. He says to when they're talking about the panic that their wives must go
Hmm.
through, he says, "But they knew what they were getting into, right?"
Uh,
And Maya's like, "Well, Karina did, but you were a doctor when Bailey married you." Almost like, "Yeah, my wife knew what she's getting into, but you screwed your son."
no, I'm going to be honest. I didn't catch that, but now that you say that, I can see that. And that was a good point Maya made. Like, no, when your wife married you, you were a doctor. You were supposed to be safe in the hospital, right? Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, that's very interesting. He might be questioning for sure, especially now that Prue is there.
that's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah,
Prue's already lost her
yeah,
dad, which was one of the reasons that her biological grandmother
yeah,
said that one of the conditions of them having Prue was him giving up firefighting.
yeah. Which they kind of just dropped that. They haven't really addressed. I mean, he was on desk duty for a while, but
That's another one for our list.
yeah, another one for our storyline list for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if as well I mean, we loved all the Maya stuff, obviously,
Yeah.
but I wonder if that was quite jarring for Grey's Anatomy audiences to have Ben and Maya running around, because Ben left when Station 19 started. So
Right.
what was that, like 2018? Like, yeah, like
Yeah.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
And sure, he's in it from time to time, but he's far from a main character. And if people have only started watching it in the last 5 years,
Hmm.
they'll just see him as a bit of an also ran,
Hmm.
And Karina hasn't been a regular cast member since season 14, I think. And she's been in it less and less and less. And she's never been the subject of a scene. She's always been an auxiliary character for somebody
Okay,
else.
got it. Yep.
So in the beginning, she was there for Arizona to
Uh-huh.
act
Uh-huh.
opposite. She was there, a vehicle for Arizona.
Yeah.
And then she was a vehicle for Andrew or Andrea.
Yeah.
And then latterly, she's just been there for Joe Wilson because she's Joe's boss.
Mm-hmm.
But she's never actually the subject of a scene. She's always just there for somebody else's benefit.
Yeah, that's a good
So
point.
then for her to suddenly be the subject of a scene
Mm-hmm.
and to have her wife, who for Grey's audiences, like I think it's been mentioned once that she was married.
Okay.
Last season, she said in passing to Joe, "My wife works 24-hour shifts, so if you want to go and get a coffee and talk."
Okay.
And Maya was there when, obviously, in the chapel when Andrea was having his surgery after he'd been stabbed.
Yeah.
And then she had a non-speaking role as supportive person sitting on a chair rubbing back at the memorial service. But you wouldn't have recognised her because she had a face mask on. So then suddenly, Maya turns up.
Yeah.
And so people aren't going to understand that dynamic either. The fact that
Sure.
they didn't sort of run into each other's arms
Yeah.
and that they were sort of very standoffish with each other. And there was this tension because unless you watch Station 19, you're clueless as to what that relationship is. So it would have made zero sense to anybody. So I just wonder if that would have been jarring for a Grey's Anatomy audience.
Yeah, it was funny. I saw on Facebook somebody commented on the Station 19 post. They said, never watched Station 19, but after seeing that sexy blonde woman running around looking for Dr. DeLuca, I may have to watch it now. So,
That's
yeah,
class.
quite jarring.
Oh, that's good. Well, I mean, I'm not complaining. I mean,
Yeah.
more screen time for Stefania and Danielle is fine by me. But I
Yes.
just thought it was an odd choice. And I wonder if it was a completely shameless and deliberate move to try and steer a Station 19 audience over to Grey's Anatomy
Yeah.
by parking their two arguably most popular characters over there. I mean, if you look at social media,
Mm-hmm.
everyone clamours over Maya and Karina. I mean, that's just it. People,
Yeah.
I would say probably 60 to 80%
Okay.
of the stuff that I see online, not that I'm massively online, but when I do sort of venture over to Twitter for 5 minutes and then get terrified and leave, everything's very kind of Maya and Karina heavy. So I think it's fair to say that they're kind of the standout stars
Mm-hmm.
in terms of popularity, at least.
Yes.
So do you see it the way I see it? It was just a deliberate move because the viewership's been waning for Grey's Anatomy and their viewing numbers are going down, and Station 19 is beating them numbers wise week on week.
Which is insane.
Well, I would have said it was insane 3 or 4 years ago, but honestly, Station 19, I think since season 4, I know you weren't like a massive fan of season 5, and there were bits of it that were clunky for sure. But I think that it's just been growing and growing and growing in strength. And so I don't think that it's, and a lot of people bag Grey's and say, it's not as great now and it's getting tired and all the rest of it.
Okay.
But I disagree that it's that. I think it's just that Station 19 has just outstripped it in terms of the writing and the content. I think it's just the better show now.
Yeah, I can't argue with that because, like I said, never got into Grey's Anatomy at all. So
no, but yeah, my initial question, which ended up being a massive run-on question for which I apologise, was: do you think that it was an unabashed move by the producers to chuck Maya and Karina over there to see if they can garner some interest for Grey's and try and boost the numbers a little bit?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it would be a wise decision. It'd be smart, right? So yeah, I could see it.
And I would be really interested to see the numbers. I don't know if they haven't been published or if I just haven't seen them, but I would be very interested to see if there was a spike in the viewership on the back of Maya and Karina being over there. And if the Grey's producers and PR machine would then attribute that to the fact that it was like this 2-part special rather than we just put the 2 fit birds from Station 19 over and so everyone went and watched it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
That's not me saying calling them Fitbits, by the way. That was your guy that said sexy blonde lady.
Yeah,
I was just, I
running
would
around the
never say
hospital.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I would never say something as sexist as two Fitbits ever. But yeah, I loved it. But I think for a Grey's audience, they kind of would have been, eh?
Yeah, no, I could see that for sure. Just like when I
Yeah.
try to watch Grace, I'm sure it's how I feel. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Who are these people? What are they doing here?
Yeah.
But hey, look, we've got at least one guy that wants to start watching Station 19, even if it is
For
just to
just to
sexually objectify
yeah,
Danielle
just
Savory.
to
God
see
bless her.
that. Yep. I had to chuckle though when I read the comment. I thought it was hilarious. So,
Oh, I loved the thank you for coming is
yes.
starting to be their
Yes.
thing. That was the only other thing that I sort of made a note of. But Maya just needs to keep doing that. She needs to keep showing up until Karina doesn't have to say thank you for coming.
Yes.
And it's just a given that when Karina needs her,
She will be.
Maya will come. Maya
Yes.
will show up.
I love that. That could be the name of the episode too, the podcast. Thank you for coming. Even though it's a
Yeah.
line from Grace.
Mind you, that's kind of perfect as well, isn't it? Because that was the best bit of
Yeah.
the whole of Thursday night, really.
Yeah, it was.
So I
So,
think that's that. Should we sum this sucker up?
yes, for sure.
Unless you think I missed anything, unless there's anything else that you written down that you wanted to discuss.
No, I think we actually went longer than I thought we would for not really caring for the episode.
Right?
So,
It's all grace, but
yeah.
themes, usually I can come up with something. I saw nothing that tied any of this doodle together.
No, I agree. There was no continuation of something that you could piece together at all.
No. So thematically, I've got nothing, and neither of you. Great. Next, um, best growth. Who do you think had the most growth?
Oh, hmm. I'm gonna say Travis.
Okay.
I think he's really, the last couple episodes has really been flourishing and just finding what he wants and starting to be able to voice that. And so I'll say Travis.
Okay.
What about you?
I said Vic, but that it's all unsung because she showed fantastic leadership.
Oh, because of the, yeah,
Yeah, she showed
yeah,
fantastic leadership qualities, and she forged ahead
yeah,
with
for sure.
the investigation. She's the one that pushed and got it done. So she's really
Hmm.
showing that she can,
Hmm.
make a plan, execute it, and get shit done, even when she's got a
Yeah,
stroppy teenager next to her.
for sure.
So I said Vic. What was your favourite scene?
Gosh, I don't have one from Station. I don't, because my favorite scene was when Danielle was like, "You're okay." That was my favorite. So I can't pick one from Station. No. Do you have one from Station?
Well, because I was pushed, I said Vic and the Bat.
Okay.
Vic with the bat. I mean, that was quite funny when she came barreling in with the bat. Yeah.
Vic with that.
Maya did pretty well with her meltdown,
She did.
but my notes says, honestly, comma, Maya and Karina and Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Their 123-second scene from Grey's Anatomy
Carried that.
caned,
Yep.
and absolutely caned everything that came before it.
It did. Yep.
So you and I think the same way. Best line or best bit of dialogue?
Probably Travis talking about caring, being the caring person that she is on social media, the little encouraging speech that he gave to Stellatrix.
Fair.
Yep. Did you have one?
I also chose a Travis line, but I chose Take the Bat.
Oh, yeah, take the bat.
It just stood out to me. It was just funny. It was just like, look, I watch TV to be
Yeah.
entertained. And when it does all the other stuff, and there's all the, the
Yeah.
political stuff, and there's the great writing that gets my little English nerd brain going, and I get excited about language and all the stuff, that's fantastic. But at the end of the day, I do want to be entertained. And that entertained me.
Do you know what line actually, for comedic purposes, I really appreciated was with Eli and Andy when she called him a nerd and he was like, I prefer history buff. We don't have to think about being shoved in the lockers. I
Yep.
appreciated that one.
Although we don't really have lockers that people can get shoved into over here. But what used to
Yeah.
happen in our school is people used to take the nerds' backpacks, like, you know, you wear like a backpack on one shoulder.
Yes.
People would take the other shoulder strap of the backpack and hang it over the banister so that as the poor kiddo
Oh,
walked down the stairs, they got
yeah.
stuck on the.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that was
Yeah.
that would possibly be a more likely memory for him. But
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, no, they had
Yeah.
some great dialogue actually. Yeah.
Yeah, they did. Appreciated that for sure.
Most gifable moment for you?
Um, Vic running in holding the bat.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went with Travis checking his teeth.
Oh, yeah. Yep. For sure.
But again, we went for the same scene, so it was obviously the most
Mm-hmm.
memorable bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what are your takeaways? What are you looking forward to for episode 13?
Maybe finally get an Andy and Eli date.
That would be nice.
I mean, everything's always Marina, obviously Marina, but if I was trying to think of
Yeah.
something different, and I would like to see some more interaction between Andy and Eli.
Anything else or just that?
No, just that. What about you?
I'm excited to see if Jack actually gets any dialogue next week. Um,
Yeah.
if they remember who Jack is, or if they just quietly write him out.
Yeah.
I'm worried for Vic, so I'm hoping for something positive to happen for Vic.
Sure.
Everything's still really quiet on the Dixon front.
Yes.
And I feel like with SFD now opening their own arson investigation, I'm hoping that things might move on there because I'm still convinced that Dixon is somehow embroiled in all of this.
Yeah.
You wait,
Yeah.
we'll get to the end of the season, I'll be completely wrong. But I think that that's the case. I'm interested to see when Beckett will be back and if he's going to actually come back a changed man.
Yeah.
And I'm actually really fascinated to see what Ben Bailey and Karina are up to
Yeah, me too.
at the crisis pregnancy center.
Yeah. Yep. I'm looking forward to tomorrow for sure.
And oh god, yeah, it's tomorrow. Crikey, that crept up on
Yeah.
us quick, didn't it?
It
And
did.
I'm still convinced that tomorrow we're going to see something big and beautiful for Marina. I'm going to hang my hat on it. And I'm going to
Yeah.
be absolutely devastated if it doesn't happen because I've been saying to you for weeks, mate,
Yeah.
episode 13. Episode
Yes, episode
13.
13. So
Because I'm convinced.
I will send you either a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
What do you think their reconciliation will look like if we see it?
I'm just hoping for a long talk in the apartment, and then just it doesn't even have to be like intimate, but like just like cuddle, kind of like on the floor in the hotel, and just
Yeah.
talk is what I'm hoping for. Do you have in your mind how you want to see it?
I mean, I know how I would write it for
Yeah.
sure,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
I'd have like Maya in the apartment. It's like dusk. She's trying to do a mindful meditation app.
Oh
She's
yeah.
got a lukewarm chamomile tea on the coffee table that she wishes was a beer. Suddenly, my voice has dropped as if I'm narrating a Mills and Boone audiobook. Commotion outside, things being dropped, swearing in Italian. She realizes that it must be Italian because she doesn't understand any of the words, despite the fact that she's been living with this woman for an undetermined amount of years. She opens the door to see Karina there. She's dropped all her suitcases. Turns out that that wasn't in the script. It's just Stefania struggling with baggage again, but they've kept it in for context. And then
Yeah.
Maya's like, Karina? Because they always repeat the person's name, even though they know exactly who the person is and they can see them right in front of them. It's just the law, right? On TV, you have to go, Karina?
Yeah.
As if she's shocked that her wife is there. And then Karina launches into some big tirade about how they're not starting where they left off, they're having to start again, and she's, it's not all forgiven and it's not going to be that easy. But that being said, she misses her wife and she's back. Maya drags the bags in a very butch, masterful way. And then that's it. They have a smooch, and we're somewhere in between the captain's office kind of naughtiness against walls and things and the energy of the sorpresa take two in the green robe.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure I'm completely wrong.
I don't know. You've been right. You've been right on quite a few things, so
I've been wrong about plenty too.
Well, I wouldn't mind if you were right on this one. So I'm excited. I'm pumped. I can't wait for tomorrow. Hopefully, it's not a letdown because I'll be sad. But
I won't be able to watch until Saturday, so will you please send me some spoilers?
I will. I'll send you. I'll send you good spoilers.
You're a legend, thank you.
All right. Was that a wrap?
Yep, I'd say so.
All right. It was good talking to you.
You two speak soon.
Okay. Bye.